worst thing we ever did was put God in the sky, out of reach, pulling the divinity from the leaf, sifting out the holy from our bones, insisting God isn't bursting dazzlement through everything we've made a hard commitment to see as ordinary. Stripping the sacred from everywhere to put in a cloud man elsewhere, prying closeness from your heart. The worst thing we ever did was take the dance and the song out of prayer, made it sit up straight and cross its legs, removed it of rejoicing, wiped clean its hip sway, its questions, its ecstatic yowl, its tears. The worst thing we ever did is pretend God isn't the easiest thing in this universe, available to every soul in every breath.
That was something also that I understood from an early point of realizing that our job is not to create experiences for people. It's to create moments in which they can have experience. Create the structure, create the container, create the space that allows them to have whatever experience they have. So we talk about the wave to ride. What is the wave that will carry us? Is that Holy Spirit, that love, that sense of a source of wisdom is within everything, and our job is to just listen and sense and feel, pay attention. It's there all the time. What's emerging on the periphery of consciousness now is this recognizing that potential, that wisdom, that source energy, that's the leader.
That there's all this talk about time and how time is changing, the swirls of time and eternity coming together. And I've actually felt that. So we're tapping into something, and it's very rich and very soulful and very strong. And it's asking for something, which, I don't completely know what it's asking for yet. But I think that's the way too. It's like, it's just sort of an asking. And you're left to discover, and that's the beauty in so many ways of these mystical ways. Nobody's spelling anything out.
And now all the wonderful work from science that is occurring, like the Webb telescope and so forth, where we're hearing the story of 13.8 billion years. And so far, how unique our habitat, our Earth is. We ought to be grateful for where we are, because we are here. And as the poet Rilke says, existence is a miracle. Existence is the miracle. That's creation spirituality.
George MacLeod was the one that first called Iona a thin place, and by that he meant that there's a thin separation between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, on Iona. And he wasn't thereby meaning that every other place is thick. He was meaning that Iona is sort of like this, sort of like an icon, or into which we're being invited to look and step and experience in order to remember the thinness of every place. Some places are much more challenging in which to see the immediacy of the divine, or the light that shines from deep within all things. So time on Iona is like this renewing of our inner perspective, a washing of the lens of the heart, that we may see that shining in one another's eyes and in everything that has being.
And so I went on to meet beings that purified me more of any of the trauma in this lifetime, so that I could remember my original source, and that I was going home to what I call the Great Heart, where I was sung into being from this great heart by the original seed syllable that was me. And so I kept passing through veils, and the light and the brilliance and the purification was becoming even stronger. And if I wanted to experience something, I just had to desire it. And then I would know the other beings. We would pass through each other. So there was no separation. There was no gap. And I stopped to listen. And when I heard the ancestors' song, I remembered I hadn't done my purpose yet, which was to sing to people to help restore them, as she had done for me when I just first arrived to the village. And so I had a choice. I could keep going on to my original source, be free of pain, be totally welcomed home, or I could come back to live my purpose and sing the medicine songs, be part of the medicine choir, and that there's so many of us here who are medicine singers in our whole variety of ways. And so I chose to come back.
I see us in the future, and we look much better than we look right now. The world is evolving, and it's upgrading itself and upgrading the human species. The universe is correcting herself. All that's happening on the planet, from global warming to political uprisings, there's a shift in consciousness, and we are literally observing the demolition of the past and the building and bringing of a brand new spiritual paradigm. So I see this growing crop of diversity, whether it's same gender loving people or ethnic people from Asia or India or Africa. There's this beautiful conglomeration of people coming together to make this beautiful tapestry with all the different lines and linens and lineages woven around each other to make this beautiful picture of who we are as human beings. So we're coming into a different unification of mind, which does bridge science and spirituality in the most unique and almost seamless manner. And it starts with all this technology.
The whole creation, including ourselves, is created to be one with Christ, because that's the essence of what we are. When we say Christ is the real essence of our creation, our holy being, our real essence and real being. But it's not just about us as human beings, it's just about everything. Every animal, every tree, every flower, everything is the manifestation of the beauty of Christ and the holiness of Christ. And to make that real is where the creation is going. We are now ready to start showing that truth more and more every day. So we are truly and literally speaking a new humanity.
Part of the awakening is that what we're awakening to are all of the systems that were built in fear that created inequalities and oppression and separation and all these inequalities of different categories of life. They're all in the systems of our world. Those systems that were created in foundations of fear originally, the baselines that built them were built in fear. That the foundations can't support the force of divine love that's entering into our world, and that we would begin to see those boundaries start to fall. We would see those foundations starting to dissipate or crumble.
Whether you're conscious of it or not, because many times we're serving unknown, unconscious streams of energies that are coursing through us that have mythic dimension. And another way to think about myth simply is the nature of the stories that we carry within us. Again, some of which are conscious and some of which are not conscious. And there's always a pragmatic question that I ask, and that is, what does any given story make you do, or what does it keep you from doing? And then you realize, well, you know, your plans are not written in stone. all of history tells us about profound interruptions of social, political, and natural events and so forth. And it ultimately leads a person to a particular question. And it's a question framed by Jung, which I think about every day in some form, where he said, we all need to know what supports us when nothing supports us.
There are earthquakes and there are floods and there are fires, and there are refugees, and what people are used to is just being pulled away from them. And the pull to go back and have it, can we restore things to how they were? And I don't think we can. And I think that part of what, hopefully part of what Findhorn can offer by practicing it, each of us individually, is releasing what has been. But it's a hugely difficult thing. I mean, and I think if that all of us can do that, then it establishes something in the planetary field, an embodied something that can move out through the field. And if I might, I just a poem that I wrote some time back, or that was written through me, just came into my mind here. Drop away. Let go. Let the fingers of your mind and expectations relax and release their hold. Just turn away. There is a deeper mystery at the heart of things that is calling you by the name you've had since the beginning of time. A mystery that is nameless as yet, wordless, but tangible and tender, steady and sure. Its presence will light our way. Trust it.